Have you ever reached for a vitamin bottle thinking, this will help me feel better? Maybe your energy was low, your bones ached, or your doctor simply said, take some D3, magnesium, and K2. But what if I told you that this innocent habit could be silently working against you? Let's get one thing straight. These supplements are powerful, and power without precision is risk, especially for people over 50, especially if you don't know your numbers. You see, the body isn't a guessing game. It's a complex machine, and nutrients aren't just fuel. They're chemical messengers. They instruct your heart, your bones, your brain, and your kidneys what to do. Take too much, and that balance tips. Vitamin D3, hailed as the sunshine vitamin, boosts calcium absorption. Great, right? But without the right amount of vitamin K2, that calcium may not reach your bones. Instead, it can settle in your arteries or kidneys, causing stiffness, stone formation, even heart issues. And then comes magnesium, vital for nerve conduction, muscle relaxation, and over 300 enzymatic reactions. But in high doses, especially with reduced kidney function, something common with aging, magnesium can accumulate. What happens next? Muscle cramps, dizziness, nausea, even irregular heart rhythms. This isn't fear-mongering. This is biology. So, what's the problem? The problem is this. People are self-prescribing supplements without knowing their needs, without testing blood levels, without understanding the synergy or conflict between these compounds. It's like trying to build a house blindfolded. Yes, magnesium, D3 and K2 can build health, but without the blueprint, you might be hammering nails into the wrong wall. Think about this. Imagine a 65-year-old woman. Let's call her Sarah. She feels weak. Her bones feel brittle. She reads online that D3 helps. She starts taking 5,000 IU daily. Then someone tells her to add magnesium and K2. 3 months later, her joints feel worse. Her kidneys ache. Her blood calcium spikes. She thought she was healing, but she was unknowingly harming. That's what happens when we skip step 1. Testing. You wouldn't fill your gas tank if it was already full. So why dump calcium or magnesium into a system that might not even need it? Asterisk, have you ever walked into a pharmacy or scrolled through a health website only to be bombarded with well-meaning advice like take magnesium, it helps you sleep, or you're over 50, better start vitamin D and K2 today? It sounds harmless. In fact, it sounds responsible. But what if I told you that this habit, this cascade of supplementing without knowing your biology, is one of the most common mistakes undermining health and longevity in seniors? Because here's the reality that most people don't hear. These supplements aren't neutral. They don't just help quietly in the background. They act, they shift chemistry, and they can tip your body into imbalance when taken without context, without data, without respect for what's already going on beneath the surface. Magnesium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2 are all powerful, not in the stimulant or sedative sense, but in the way they command and coordinate deep physiological processes. Your nerves, your muscles, your blood vessels, your bones, every one of them speaks the language of these nutrients. But if you start loading them into your system without first checking what your system already contains, it's like pouring oil into a car without checking the dipstick. You could be flooding it, not fueling it. Vitamin D3, for instance, is more than a bone vitamin. It's a hormone, one that regulates calcium absorption, immune modulation, and even gene expression in over 1,000 different areas of the body. When your body doesn't have enough D3, your bones weaken, your immune system suffers, and mood regulation falters. But what happens when you take too much? Especially if your levels are already high and you didn't know it. You get calcium overflow. You absorb more calcium than your body needs. And if there's no vitamin K2 around to direct it, where does that calcium go? Into your arteries, into your kidneys, into places it was never meant to go. And that's where the trouble begins. Magnesium, often called nature's chill pill, is involved in everything from ATP production to neuromuscular function to blood pressure regulation. But as we age, especially after 60, kidney function starts to decline gradually, and your kidneys are responsible for eliminating excess magnesium. So if you're taking 300 or 400 milligrams daily without checking your renal filtration rate, you may be quietly overloading your system. Symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, heart palpitations, muscle cramps, these aren't just getting older. They're signs that your body is struggling to regulate what it's been given. Now add vitamin K2 into this equation, particularly in its MK7 form. It plays a critical role in activating matrix GLA protein and osteocalcin to proteins that ensure calcium is deposited in the bones and not in the blood vessels. Without enough K2, Even moderate vitamin D3 supplementation can cause more harm than good, because D3 boosts calcium absorption, but K2 is the traffic cop directing where that calcium actually goes. It's a two-part system, and missing either part disrupts the whole flow. Imagine building a highway with no road signs, cars go everywhere, accidents happen. That's calcium in your body without the right K2 signaling. But the mistake isn't just in the nutrients themselves, it's in how people take them. Most people don't test first. They don't check their serum magnesium or their 25-hydroxyvitamin D level, or their creatinine clearance rate. They assume deficiency. They assume uniform benefit. But biology doesn't work that way. Biology is specific, context-dependent. It changes with age, with diet, with stress, with light exposure. What works for a 30-year-old athletic male won't work for a 65-year-old diabetic female. Yet the advice we see is generic, recycled, and dangerously broad. This is why the first thing I tell people, especially seniors, is to stop taking these 3 supplements blindly, because the risk of oversupplementation is real, and not because these nutrients are toxic in the traditional sense, but because they are leverage points. They shift the balance of calcium and magnesium in tissues that directly affect heart function, nerve firing, blood clotting, and bone remodeling. These systems don't tolerate guesswork, they require precision. And that precision starts with a blood test. And if you're already taking them, don't panic, just pause. Ask your physician to run a few simple labs. Serum magnesium, 25O, calcium, PTH, parathyroid hormone, and kidney function tests like GFR. These 5 values can give you a map. They tell you if you're deficient, sufficient, or overdosing. They tell you whether supplementation is necessary, or whether what your body needs is absorption support, not more pills. Another key insight is timing. D3 and K2 should always be taken with a fat-containing meal, because they're fat-soluble. Taking them on an empty stomach drastically reduces absorption and increases variability in blood levels. Magnesium, on the other hand, should often be taken at night, ideally 2 hours before bed. Why? Because magnesium facilitates parasympathetic nervous system activation. It calms the system, slows the heart rate, and helps deepen sleep quality. Taking it during the day, especially with caffeine or stress exposure, may blunt its benefits. Also matters. Magnesium oxide, a common cheap version, has poor bioavailability and can cause diarrhea. Magnesium glycinate, citrate, or threonate are more effective and gentler on the gut. Vitamin K2 MK7 has a longer half-life and better bone activity than MK4. D3 should be cholecalciferol, not ergosaferol, for optimal uptake. Think of your supplement regimen like a symphony. Every nutrient is an instrument. Taken at the right dose, in the right order, with the right support, it produces harmony. Taken without structure or insight, it creates dissonance, and eventually dysfunction. So the next time someone tells you to just take magnesium or load up on D3, remember this: your biology isn't a supplement shelf. It's a dynamic, the intelligent system that deserves to be understood, not bombarded. Supplements are tools, not shortcuts, and when used with scientific awareness, they can elevate your health. But used blindly, they can quietly unravel it. The difference is in your approach. The difference is in your intention. And most importantly, the difference begins when you ask, what does my body actually need? Not what the label says, not what the influencer says, but what your own data, your own labs reveal, because that's the path to longevity, clarity, and true self-directed health. Imagine waking up with the intention to be healthier, more energetic and sharper as you age. You've heard magnesium is essential. You've seen vitamin D3 and K2 plastered across every health podcast and article, so you begin taking them faithfully, every day expecting to feel better, but weeks go by, and something isn't right. Your sleep feels off, your legs cramped at night, your energy fluctuates. What's going on? Isn't this supposed to help? This is where many people get stuck, especially in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. They've done the right thing, taken the so-called right supplements, but things don't feel right. And that's because when it comes to magnesium, D3 and K2, interactions matter. These nutrients don't work in isolation. They interact with each other and with your body in profound ways. And that interaction can either build health or break it, depending on timing, dosage, and internal readiness. Let's start with magnesium. It's involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions. It stabilizes ATP, the body's main energy molecule, and it helps regulate nerve firing and muscle relaxation. But here's what most people don't realize. Magnesium can shift how vitamin D is metabolized. It acts as a cofactor for enzymes that convert vitamin D into its active form. Without enough magnesium, your body might not even activate the vitamin D you're taking. So even if you're supplementing D3, if magnesium is low, that D3 can become useless or worse. It may accumulate in your bloodstream unconverted, leading to potential toxicity over time. But that's not the whole story. Flip the equation. What happens when magnesium is high but vitamin D is too low? Now your muscles might relax too much, you might feel sluggish, your blood pressure might drop, and calcium levels may destabilize, since vitamin D helps regulate calcium absorption. It becomes a game of tug-of-war inside your bloodstream, with each nutrient trying to do its job, but lacking the proper teammates to get it done efficiently. Then comes vitamin K2, specifically MK7, the form that has a longer half-life in the bloodstream. K2's role is subtle but vital. It directs calcium where it belongs into bones and teeth and keeps it out of arteries and soft tissues. When people supplement with D3 without K2, they may unknowingly increase calcium absorption from food or supplements without having a mechanism to redirect that calcium properly. That's where the danger lies. Without K2, D3 can elevate serum calcium and encourage calcification in places like arteries, joints, and kidneys. Not because D3 is bad, but because it wasn't paired with its molecular partner. This triad, magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2, is a biochemical triangle. Each point supports the other. But if one side is too high or too low, the entire structure destabilizes. It's like building a three-legged stool. If one leg is shorter, you fall. In real life, these imbalances show up as symptoms most people attribute to just aging. Fatigue, numbness, muscle tightness, sleep disturbances, heart palpitations, bone pain. They're not random. They're the body's way of signaling that something in the network is off. The elderly are particularly vulnerable. As we age, absorption of nutrients slows, kidney function declines, sensitivity to electrolyte shifts increases. So a dose of magnesium that worked in your 30s may become too strong in your 60s. A vitamin D dose that once felt energizing might now raise calcium levels beyond safe limits if your kidney function is impaired, and K2 often ignored entirely. Maybe the missing link behind vascular stiffness or unexplained joint pain. That's why it's not just about the individual supplements. It's about their ratio, their form, and their interaction with your unique physiology. That includes your hydration status, your existing medical conditions, your medications, and even your sleep and sunlight exposure. For instance, thiazide diuretics can raise calcium levels, making high-dose D3 dangerous. Proton pump inhibitors reduce magnesium absorption. Warfarin, a common blood thinner, directly interacts with vitamin K pathways. The average person doesn't realize how many variables are at play. They assume more is better, but in this case more can mean overloaded. It can mean toxic. It can mean inflammation and confusion in the very systems you're trying to heal. So how do we avoid this? It begins with understanding that supplements are signals, not substitutes. They tell your body what to do, but they must be delivered at the right time, in the right context, and with the right supporting elements. You wouldn't expect your car to run better just because you added more oil without checking the engine, right? Similarly, you can't just add D3, magnesium, or K2 and expect better performance without knowing what systems are overworked or undernourished inside. Next comes personalization. Before starting these supplements, ask, have I tested my 25-hydroxy vitamin D levels? What's my serum magnesium? Have I had a calcium panel recently? What medications am I on that might interfere? Without this data, supplementing becomes a gamble, a biological shot in the dark. Then comes timing and sequencing. Fat-soluble vitamins like D3 and K2 should be taken with dietary fat to ensure absorption. They also shouldn't be taken at night, since D3 can increase alertness in some people. Magnesium, on the other hand, often supports better sleep when taken before bed, especially the glycinate or threonate forms. So you space them out strategically, based on circadian rhythms and digestion. Hydration is another key factor. These nutrients influence electrolyte balance. Magnesium, for instance, pulls water into the intestines, which can cause loose stools if hydration is poor. On the flip side, low magnesium paired with high D3 can cause muscle cramps or heart rhythm issues. The lesson: stay hydrated, especially when supplementing minerals. Finally, monitor and adapt your body changes. What worked 6 months ago may no longer work today. Retest your levels every few months. Adjust doses based on real data. Pay attention to how your body feels, your sleep, your digestion, your focus, your physical performance. These are biological feedback loops. When supplements are aligned, you feel clear, strong, and steady. When they're off, the signals are subtle but they're there. So, instead of stacking D3, K2, and magnesium like some daily routine, slow down, get curious. Ask your body what it actually needs, not what the label promises. Ask your biology before you ask the bottle, because when you honor the interactions, when you understand the triangle of these nutrients, you begin to create real harmony inside the body. Not synthetic highs, not guesswork, but a stable internal environment where healing, energy, and longevity can flourish. And that's the goal, not just to supplement, but to synchronize. To build a life supported by science, guided by intuition, and anchored in truth. Asterisk, imagine you're walking along a path lined with smooth stones. Every step feels stable, grounded. That's what proper nutrient synergy feels like in the body. But then suddenly, one of those stones is loose. You step, and your balance shifts. That's exactly what happens inside us when magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2 are taken out of sync. And what many people don't realize is that their supplement plan may be slowly, quietly throwing off their entire system. This isn't theory. This is chemistry. This is physiology. And the good news is it's fixable when we look at this trio: magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2. We're looking at foundational regulators of bone density, nerve conduction, vascular health, and energy metabolism. But these are not over-the-counter miracle pills. They are modulators of the most delicate electrical and structural systems in the body. Think of them as conductors in an orchestra. Magnesium keeps the beat for nerve signals. D3 cues the absorption of calcium, and K2 directs that calcium to its proper place. When they're in harmony, the body runs like music. But when one is missing or overtaking the other, chaos replaces rhythm. You might not notice it right away. You may feel only slightly off, like tightness in the calves, a bit of brain fog or fatigue after a full night's sleep. But over time, these whispers become louder. They become chronic pain, inflammation, and even disease. Here's why this happens. Vitamin D3 increases the intestinal absorption of calcium. That's its job. It tells your gut to pull calcium from food into the bloodstream. But that's only the first step. If there's no one to tell that calcium where to go, it begins to deposit in soft tissues, joints, even organs. That's where vitamin K2 steps in. It activates osteocalcin and matrix GLA protein, two proteins that act like guides shuttling calcium into bone, not into arteries. If vitamin D3 is the truck that delivers the cargo, K2 is the traffic cop that tells the truck where to unload. Now bring magnesium into the picture. Magnesium helps regulate calcium channels in the cells. It keeps them from being overexcited, which is critical for nerve and heart function. Without enough magnesium, calcium floods cells uncontrollably. That leads to cellular stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, and in the long term, oxidative damage. So magnesium doesn't just help you relax. It's managing the flow of information inside the body, down to the cellular level. The issue is most people supplement without knowing these relationships. They take D3 because of low energy or poor immunity. They add magnesium for cramps or sleep. They may or may not have heard of K2, but rarely do they check if they're deficient. Rarely do they ask how these molecules talk to each other once inside. That's where mistakes happen, not out of ignorance, but out of missing context. Imagine you're filling a bathtub. D3 is the faucet, pouring calcium into your bloodstream. Magnesium is the drain control, regulating how fast that calcium flows through your cells. And K2 is the plumber. It routes that calcium into the pipes, your bones, making sure there are no leaks into the walls, your arteries. If you open the faucet too much high-dose D3 but forget the plumber K2 and leave the drain clogged low magnesium, you've got an overflow. And that overflow doesn't just disappear, it becomes plaque, kidney stones, or joint calcification. Let's bring it to a real-life case. A 67-year-old man starts supplementing with 5,000 IU of vitamin D3 daily. He wants to improve his immunity and bone health. After a few weeks, he notices muscle tightness and insomnia. His blood calcium is slightly elevated, but his doctor tells him it's still within range. He adds magnesium, but uses magnesium oxide, cheapest form with the lowest absorption. The cramps continue. He hasn't heard of K2. Meanwhile, he starts feeling stiffness in his shoulders and notices his gums bleeding slightly during brushing. What's happening here? Vitamin D3 raised his calcium levels, but without enough K2, that calcium may be misdirected. Without effective magnesium, his muscles can't relax properly. And the early signs: gums, joints, sleep issues are his body trying to send a message that the balance is off. This is where targeted intervention matters. Switching to magnesium glycinate or citrate, adding K2-MK7 and reducing D3 to a maintenance dose can help restore that balance. But again, it starts with awareness. There's another layer here too. By individuality, some people genetically metabolize D3 differently. Some have polymorphisms in the VDR gene, which slows vitamin D receptor activation. Others have differences in how they methylate, which affects magnesium usage. One size fits all doesn't apply here. Your biology does't care what works for your neighbor. It responds only to your signals. So how do you use this knowledge? You start by respecting your biochemistry. Get your 25-hydroxyvitamin D levels. Test it. Check your serum, magnesium and calcium. If possible, assess PTH, parathyroid hormone, to see how your body is regulating calcium internally. Use that data, not social media posts, to guide your choices. Supplementation becomes not a hope-based action, but a targeted intervention. And yes, nutrient forms matter. Choose magnesium glycinate or threonate for better absorption and cognitive benefit. Go for D3 cholecalciferol, not D2. Select K2-MK7 from fermented sources like natto or quality supplements. These small decisions create a big difference in how your body responds. Remember this, these nutrients are tools, not toys. They don't exist to fix you. They exist to support your internal systems that are already intelligent, adaptive, and capable of healing. But only when we stop overloading them. Only when we support them with the right ratios, at the right times, and with full understanding of how they work together. So next time you open a supplement bottle, pause, ask, am I supporting balance, or am I tipping it? Because the goal isn't just to feel better temporarily. The goal is to create a long-term state of resilience where your bones are strong, your vessels are clear, and your mind is sharp. That doesn't come from megadoses or shortcuts. It comes from alignment, from precision, from giving your body exactly what it needs, nothing more, nothing less, and letting it do what it was always designed to do. Thrive. Asterisk. You've probably heard the phrase, small hinges swing big doors. That's not just a motivational quote, it's deeply biological, especially when it comes to how we build long-term health after 50. The biggest shifts in how we feel, move, and age don't come from dramatic overhauls or miracle supplements. They come from consistent, small steps grounded in our physiology, steps that align with the brain, the body, and the systems that keep us alive. The truth is, you don't need to do everything, but you do need to do something, and you need to do it consistently. Let's break this down in the context of magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2. These nutrients are essential, no doubt, but when we panic and try to take large doses, or skip days, then double dose the next, or combine them haphazardly, we're not respecting the body's rhythm, and the body responds to rhythm far more than intensity. Think of your nervous system. It runs on patterns, on signals, on reliability. It doesn't respond well to chaos or overcorrection. This is why consistent, intelligent supplementation, not aggressive megadosing, is the key to long-term vitality. The brain plays a central role in how these nutrients function. Vitamin D3, for instance, crosses the blood-brain barrier. It affects mood-regulating genes, impacts neurotransmitter production, and influences how we deal with stress. But its effects are slow and cumulative, not immediate. You won't feel a jolt of energy the next day. Instead, you'll notice over weeks, better mood stability, clearer thinking, improved sleep. That only happens when you take the same dose, daily, at the same time, with fat-containing food, a small act, repeated daily, to signal your biology that you're showing up with intention. Magnesium is similar. It supports GABAergic tone, the calming neurotransmitter system. It modulates the parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for rest, digestion, and healing. But it doesn't do this like a switch. It works like a dimmer. With small, nightly supplementation, especially forms like magnesium glycinate or threonate, you're teaching your nervous system to downregulate stress more efficiently. You're not forcing the system. You're inviting it into calm. The people who benefit most from magnesium aren't the ones who take 500 milligrams once when they feel anxious. It's those who take 100 to 200 milligrams every night for 30, 60, 90 days. Who let the body learn and adapt through repetition. And then there's K2. It doesn't give you a feeling. You won't notice a rush, but under the surface, something profound is happening. K2 is like a messenger that tells calcium where to go. You take it every day, and over time, your arteries become less stiff. Your bones become denser. Not in a week, not in a month, but maybe in a year. That's the cost of biological transformation. It demands consistency. And consistency only works when the steps are small enough to sustain. Here's what most people miss. Your body isn't looking for sudden change. It's looking for reliability. Your circadian rhythm, your metabolic cycles, your hormonal cascades, they're all based on the principle of rhythm. So when you take your supplements randomly, or start and stop, your body gets confused. But when you stack simple behaviors, morning sunlight, water movement, balanced nutrition, and correctly timed supplementation, your biology locks into coherence. You feel stronger, you move better, you sleep deeper, you regain energy you thought was lost to aging. And this principle isn't limited to nutrients. It's about habit formation across the board. The same nervous system that regulates calcium balance also regulates behavior, and it does this through reward prediction, dopamine cycling, and habit loops. When you do something small like taking your magnesium at the same time every night, you're not just helping your body, you're training your brain. You're telling your prefrontal cortex, I follow through. That sense of integrity bleeds into every other area of your life. It rewires your identity from someone trying to be healthy to someone who lives with intention. But let's be honest, consistency is hard. Life gets in the way. We forget, we lose motivation, we get busy. That's why the key isn't willpower, it's systems. Systems beat goals every time. If you want to actually benefit from magnesium D3 and K2, you need to reduce the friction around taking them. Keep them in visible places. Use a simple tracker. Set a 2-minute nighttime routine that includes water, breath work, and your capsule. Anchor it to something you already do, like brushing your teeth or setting your alarm. This is how habit neuroscience works. It's not about discipline, it's about design. And when these routines lock in, you create a domino effect. You sleep better because of magnesium. You recover faster, so you move more, so you digest better, so your gut makes more serotonin, so your mood improves, so you stick to your walks, so your vitamin D3 and K2 support stronger bones, so you move with more confidence. That's how small steps cascade into longevity. You don't notice it on day 1, but you feel it by day 30. You own it by day 90. This is the heartbeat of sustainable health. It's not about extremes. It's about decisions that are easy to repeat. Your biology doesn't reward the heroic effort. It rewards the repeated one. So if all you do today is decide to take a 15-minute walk outside and pair your vitamin D3 with a bit of avocado, perfect. Do that again tomorrow, then again the next day. And slowly you build a body and brain that reflects the compound interest of intelligent action. Here's the takeaway. There's no magic bullet. No single nutrient will save you. But the way you take them, the consistency, the alignment, the daily execution, that's the difference between a scattered effort and true transformation. Health after 50 isn't about racing to fix things. It's about pacing to rebuild things. One repeatable habit at a time. So make your plan simple. Choose your doses based on data. Choose your timing based on biology. Choose your actions based on what you can repeat, even on the hardest days, because those are the days that build resilience. Those are the days your body remembers. And that's what true longevity is, a body and mind that have been conditioned, gently but persistently, to work with nature instead of against it. A physiology that reflects hundreds of small wins. A life built not on hacks, but on harmony. Not on speed, but on rhythm. Not on perfection, but on persistence. Asterisk. Let's pause for a moment and imagine something deeper than physical health. Imagine biological alignment. Not just avoiding disease or popping pills for quick fixes, but living in a state where your energy flows, your mind is clear, your body is responsive, and aging no longer feels like a slow decline, but a process of refinement. That's what proper use of magnesium, vitamin D3, and K2 offers, not through hype, but through harmony. And it begins the moment we stop treating supplements like shortcuts and start treating them like signals to recalibrate the system. You see, the older we get, the more each decision counts. Our recovery slows, our resilience is tested. But here's the truth. Your body is not broken, it's adaptive. It's incredibly intelligent. It's simply waiting for the right inputs. Magnesium helps calm the nervous system, reduce muscle spasms, and support deep sleep. Vitamin D3 elevates immunity, mood, and hormone regulation. K2 ensures calcium moves to the right places into your bones, not your arteries. But none of this happens in isolation. It's all part of a larger conversation your body is having with itself. You're just joining that conversation now with awareness. And that awareness changes everything. It means you stop blindly following fads and start asking, what's the mechanism? What does my biology need right now? It means no more over-supplementing without testing, no more stacking one nutrient without considering its partner. It means starting small, checking in with your body, noticing subtle improvements, deeper sleep, clearer skin, better digestion, more stable moods, and building from there. The science is clear. When these nutrients are taken with precision, in proper ratio, and consistently, the effects are transformative. Not because they're magic, but because they work with your physiology, not against it. Your mitochondria thank you. Your bones thank you. Your heart, brain, muscles, and even your DNA thank you. But none of that happens without one essential ingredient: consistency. Because a good supplement routine done once or twice is just a nice idea. But a good supplement routine done every day, that's a new identity. That's ownership of your health. That's longevity through action. So if you're over 50 or even over 30 and you've felt weak, foggy, inflamed, or disconnected, this is your sign not to try everything, but to start with one intentional shift. Get your levels tested. Commit to daily magnesium before bed. Pair your D3 with a meal containing fat. Include K2 to ensure calcium is directed with intelligence. Repeat, adjust, listen to your body, then repeat again, because small actions, done smartly and consistently, compound. They become health, they become strength, they become your next decade, vibrant, grounded, and full of momentum. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being aligned. And when you're aligned, you don't just extend your life, you elevate it.